Welcome to Module 01, Installing OpenNMS. This video installs the minimum prerequisites needed to install OpenNMS. These include selecting the OS and configuring the server, installing OpenJDK, and installing PostgreSQL. The work is performed on a VMware virtual machine. This is a list of acceptable operating systems per the OpenNMS documentation. Red Hat Enterprise Linux is a Linux distribution developed by Red Hat for the commercial market. Red Hat is an independent subsidiary of IBM. CentOS is a discontinued Linux distribution that provided a free and open-source community-supported computing platform, functionally compatible with its upstream source, Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Debian is a Linux distribution composed of free and open-source software and, optionally, non-free firmware or software. Debian uses the APT, Advanced Packaging Tool, Package Manager. Ubuntu is a Linux distribution based on Debian, composed mostly of free and open source software. And finally, Rocky Linux is a free Linux distribution that uses the RPM Package Manager. Rocky Linux can be downloaded from rockylinux.org/download. This playlist will use the x86 64-bit DVD ISO image to create the server. OpenNMS does have a list of minimum system requirements for testing, but this is an introduction, and so the storage requirements can be reduced. This is the VMware system configuration. The RAM is purposefully high because this VM will run other applications once this course is completed. The VMware VM name is Horizon-Rocky-105. This identifies the VM as running Horizon on Rocky with a host IP of 105. 40 GB of storage is allocated. This is sufficient for learning purposes. File system options will be discussed later. 16 GB of RAM is allocated. This is more than enough. Another Horizon VM installation is running on this host using 4 GB and is configured as this VM will be by the course's end. Using NAT, Network Address Translation, will make it easy for this VM to access external repositories, for example, Rocky, PostgreSQL, and OpenNMS. This is the final config of the VM. This corresponds roughly to a workstation configuration. It includes Firefox, X11, GNOME, Python, Perl, and SE Linux. The original course recommended a bare-bones configuration. That is not necessary for learning purposes. However, it is a very good target for a production environment. Usually, within an organization, the OpenNMS team would request a server on which to install OpenNMS. Usually, the server is delivered bare bones, and it is up to the OpenNMS team to install OpenNMS and support packages as necessary. The host name is a combination of the application and IPv4 host address. This should be done in a learning environment only. While security through obscurity is a false concept, it does not hurt to make the snoopers work a little harder. Out of the 40 GB allocated to the server, 1 GB went to /boot, 4 GB went to swap, and the remaining 35 GB were assigned to /. The server is ready to go. The first package to install is OpenJDK. The command dnf list available lists all packages currently available. The horizontal bar is called a pipe and is used to send output from the command before the pipe to the command after the pipe, in this case, egrep. The nix family of grep commands is used to search for text. In this case, the grep finds all output lines from the DNF list available command that contain Java -2 digits -OpenJDK. There are 3 versions of Java OpenJDK available: 11, 17, and 21. OpenNMS requires either version 11 or version 17. Use version 17. Use the command dnf install java-17-openjdk.x86_64 to install the Java OpenJDK 17 package. The package manager, DNF, will install Java OpenJDK 17 and its dependencies. After installing OpenJDK, test the version installed from the def users and root's point of view. Use the command java-version. In order to install PostgreSQL, visit the webpage postgresql.org/download/Linux/Red Hat. Note that this webpage contains the installation process for Red Hat Enterprise, Rocky, Alma, CentOS, Oracle, and Fedora Linux. If you are using Debian or Ubuntu Linux, select the appropriate link from postgresql.org/download. The maximum Postgres version supported by OpenNMS at this time is 15.x. The OS being used is Rocky 9. The architecture being used is x86_64. The installation script is produced. Note the use of sudo. PostgreSQL will be installed by root, so that sudo will not be necessary. Also note the use of -q and -y arguments to the DNF command. -q causes DNF to suppress messages about the current state or actions of DNF. -y answers yes for all questions DNF might ask. For example, do you wish to continue? At this time, it is preferable to see and approve all action taken by DNF. Part 4, toward the bottom of the screen, will be copied into a text file, and each command will be copy-pasted for execution. This is a text file containing the PostgreSQL installation script with the sudo and the DNF-q and DNF-y options removed. Begin with the PostgreSQL repository registration. This will create a file in the directory /etc/yum.repos.d named pgdg-redhat-all.repo. Going into how the repositories work is out of scope. Suffice it to mention that this file contains the how-to for installing multiple versions of PostgreSQL. Disable the PostgreSQL versions available through the Rocky repositories using DNF module disable PostgreSQL. This will also import the keys for PostgreSQL packages available through the PostgreSQL repositories. Install PostgreSQL 15 using the DNF install PostgreSQL 15-server command. Note that PostgreSQL 15-server and the dependencies LZ4, PostgreSQL 15, and PostgreSQL-libs are being installed. initdb initializes the database cluster's default locale and character set encoding. This is a required step. Run PostgreSQL-15-setup initdb. Finally, enable and start the PostgreSQL server. Use system control enable PostgreSQL-15 to enable the PostgreSQL server, and system control start PostgreSQL-15 to start the PostgreSQL server. Verify that the PostgreSQL service is running by executing system control status PostgreSQL-15. To get a listing of all the files and directories installed with each package, enter the command shown on the screen. The command is also found in the module notes. This command will list all files and directories installed to each package and prepend the package name to each file or directory. The output is sent to a file z_pg_pkg_files_ders. That really just stands for Postgres package files and ders, to make what follows easy. Look through the result for all the bin files, that is, the executables associated with the PostgreSQL server or client. We have already executed PostgreSQL-15 setup to initialize the PostgreSQL database. PG_control can be used to initialize, start, stop, or control a PostgreSQL server. It can be used to signal PostgreSQL to reread its configuration files, for example, PostgreSQL.conf or pg_hba.conf, so that options within those files that do not require full server restart can take effect without restarting the PostgreSQL server. Regarding the PostgreSQL client binaries, a number of these will be used in creating the OpenNMS database. That process is hidden within the OpenNMS install process. pgdump, pgdumpall, and pgrestore can be used to back up and restore the PostgreSQL database. PSQL is the PostgreSQL Interactive Terminal. The PostgreSQL man pages cover server and client binaries, library routines, and SQL calls. The PostgreSQL server runs as Postmaster, which, by way of the man pages, is a deprecated alias of Postgres. It is the -d datadir option that is important. Datadir is /var/lib/pgsql/15/data. This is also known as the PG data directory. The PG data directory contains several subdirectories and control files. Two key files are pg_hba.conf, which controls which hosts are allowed to connect, how the clients are authenticated, which PostgreSQL usernames they can use, and which databases they can access. PostgreSQL.conf, which is a general configuration file. The key subdirectory is base, which is where PostgreSQL databases are kept. After the initial install, there are 3 PostgreSQL databases. In a production environment, mount pgdata/base as its own file system. In the case of OpenNMS, it is possible that even the event table under the base subdirectory may blow up with an event flood. PostgreSQL does have an online help for the PG data directory. Look for it at postgresql.org/docs/15/storage-file-layout.html. Let's close out with also noting that PostgreSQL has a DB documentation page at www.postgresql.org/docs/15. OpenNMS will be installed in the next video.